This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten here on Public House Media. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Rewritten, where we will talk about you having limitless potential and can rewrite your story at any time. No matter your background, your past, or current situation, you can have the type of life you crave. A new show comes out every single Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Rewritten. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Your Life Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maria White, and I am a passionate pediatric nurse practitioner and fired up health and happiness coach here to deliver a message to you. This podcast is meant to provide a hope and a dream that fuels your soul to dream big and to dream bold and to empower and inspire you to live out your wildest dreams and to grab a hold onto the unwavering truth that you were made for more. What's up, guys? I'm so excited you're here. Happy freaking Tuesday. Whether you are listening in the morning, evening, afternoon, I hope you are having an incredible day. I hope you know how important you are to me, how special you are, and just that I am so grateful that you're here. Your Life Matters podcast is something that I'm so passionate about. We are well into our second year with this podcast, and I'm just so grateful because you guys are the reason why I'm here. I ask you, I empower you, I encourage you, and I ask for your support as you leave ratings and reviews and tell me what you're listening to and what resonates with you and what I can help with, but also that you click subscribe. And the reason why is because I believe that the Your Life Matters podcast is going to be a top iTunes podcast. Whether you listen on iTunes or Spotify, whatever it is, I appreciate you being that listener who shows up every single week. I ask you to just share episodes with friends who might need something, because the point of this episode is for me to give you tangible things that I've learned throughout my journey to help you in yours. Because 3.5 years ago, I was at a place where I was going to take my own life. I was going to be 6 feet under versus 6 feet above. And it was then when I realized my life mattered and that I was good enough and that I was made for more, that I decided to own back my life. And from that moment on, I've kind of just blazed a trail to help other people do that same thing. So that is why this podcast is so important to me. And on that note, as we dive into this episode, I really want to talk about fear, and I want to talk to you about things that are going on in my life that I just try to be vulnerable about. As you guys know, I just had my daughter. She's 4 months old now. It's so crazy to think about. It's so crazy to fathom how big she's getting. And I have shared openly, man, guys, I can't talk today, openly about how I've been struggling with postpartum depression. And the reason why I've shared that with you is because it is so hard as women to understand that we go through that after we have a baby and how our bodies are just adapting and our hormones and all of these things. And I realize that most women don't like to talk about it, and it's because we have mom guilt. We think that we're inadequate, or we want to not be seen as a failure when it comes to taking care of our kid. So I share it with you guys because it's something that I've struggled with, and especially with having a history of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations, you are a little bit more at risk, and I knew that. I knew that going into this pregnancy. I knew that for afterwards, but I had already planned to set myself up for success, meaning the entire time I worked out, the entire time I dove into personal development, the entire time I was really working on my mindset. But life hits hard, and when life hits hard, you can't really predict how it's going to happen. So things in my life, situations that have happened, have kind of dictated me to feel a certain way. And I realized as I was listening to a podcast earlier last week, as well as going through this and trying to articulate how to navigate it and what I needed and how I could feel better, I realized that a lot of times fear is what drives us in either a negative way. So fear either destroys us and what we have going on, or it gives us strength. It gives us faith. It gives us connection. It gives us courage. And I want you guys to understand that the most successful people in this life, whether you think of Tony Robbins, Oprah, Gary Vaynerchuk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all of these incredible people have gone through fear, but they had to go through fear in order to be successful. The most successful people, it's not that they didn't have fear before they were doing something, it's that they pushed through fear anyway. They decided to find courage, and they decided to find strength and passion and bravery in the midst of being scared and in the midst of having fear. Everybody has fear, whether it's false evidence appearing real or you have the fight or flight of, I just need to get the out of here. Whatever it is, it's our body's natural way of dealing with the situation. So fear is something that kind of is triggered. It's triggered by past relationships. It's triggered by past situations. And for me, the fear of going through postpartum depression, the fear of going through all of that was really, really hard because I remembered who I was 3.5 years ago. Now, am I the same woman? Am I the same person? No. I'm a completely different person, completely different woman. I've worked very hard to change my mindset. That's why I'm a health and happiness coach. That's why I'm on this platform to help you, because I've done the work. But that doesn't mean I'm not scared. That doesn't mean I don't have fear. I just choose to act through the fear and have courage and bravery. But in this moment, I realized that I was struggling. And I was struggling because I didn't want to be seen as an inadequate mom. I didn't want to have mom guilt. I didn't want to feel like I wasn't a good enough provider. I remember feeling like, man, I can't wait to get back to work while I was on maternity leave. And now that I'm back at work, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get home to my daughter. So it was this balance and this juggling act that I was having to deal with until I realized that I was having panic attacks and I was feeling anxious and I was worried all the time, and I had to sit back and say, Mariah, what are you afraid of? I was afraid of being seen as a lesser provider. I was afraid of my daughter feeling like she was raised by somebody else. I was afraid of missing out on what was going on. I was afraid that I was already failing her based on the situation between me and her father. I was afraid that if I admitted to anybody that I was struggling as bad as I was doing, that I would be seen as a failure and that people would judge me being on this platform. And I realized that I'm on this platform because I talk about the real hard things. And it's not that I was really thinking about the judgment of all these things. It's just that was the fear going on in my head. And that's the hard thing about fear. Fear can play these games in your mind of things that probably aren't even real or even true. So I ask you, think about situations that you're going through, the season you're going through. What are you afraid of? And ask yourself, is it really something to be afraid of? Or can you step into courage and bravery and muster through it? And I want you to reflect on your life. And I was thinking about that for myself. Times that I was so scared of whether it was judgment or just the act of doing it. I was so terrified to apply to MP school because people said, I didn't have enough experience. I wasn't going to be good enough. I was going to fail. I'm dyslexic. I didn't know if I was going to be successful. And yeah, I wrote a dissertation and I finished and I graduated with my doctorate. And here I am looking at it now and saying, man, I was so afraid to do that and I just leaped. Or I sit there and I say, I was so afraid to leave such a toxic, abusive relationship in a marriage because I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to give in. And when I did, I was so afraid that I was going to be alone or that I was never going to find love or that I just wasn't good enough or that I would be seen as this failure. And when I got out of it, I realized it was the best decision I ever made. Here I am now, and I have my daughter, and I'm realizing that I was terrified to have her, terrified to what I was going to get myself into and in the situation, and now I'm sitting here saying that she was the best decision I ever made. But that all comes with bravery and courage, even in the midst of fear. What are you right now dealing with that you are so afraid of, but really, truly, it's stuff that's not even real? It's stuff that are holding you back, that is affecting you from your past. What things are going on in your past where you felt abandoned or rejected or like you weren't good enough or whatever the case is, that is now dictating your future, now dictating how you act right now in the midst of things. That's what you guys need to work on. That's what we all need to work on. So here I am as a full-time nurse practitioner and now a new mom of a 4-month-old baby, and I want to spend time with her. But I'm realizing that I'm running a business, I'm working 5 days a week, I'm barely getting to see her, I'm working for my weekends, and I was like, man, I never wanted to live like this. I worked so hard to go to school, to get a good career, to not have to feel like this when I had a daughter. Now, mind you, my blueprint obviously was like, you're going to be married, you're going to have kids, you're going to this, blah, blah, blah. It didn't include being a single mom. My fear of all of that was being a single mom. I overcame that because guess what? It's the situation. But then my fear was that I wasn't going to be able to provide for her. Now, that's not true, and that's a self-limiting belief that I was telling myself, and it was the fear of failing her that was all kind of wrapped up in one. And then I realized when I calmed down and I sat down and I admitted what I was afraid of and why I felt that way, it's because of my past and what I felt and how I wanted to make sure Bianca felt wanted. I wanted to make sure Bianca felt loved and needed and supported, and I didn't want her to ever have to feel the way that I felt growing up or in life situations. And my fear of failing her at that was the driving factor of what all the anxiety and everything that was going on. So then I realized what would make me feel better, what would make me feel like I can make a difference or feel healthy and mentally strong. So I decided to work part-time. I decided that being home with her is just as important as being a tiny human healer. I decided that being home with her was just as important as being a health and happiness coach for everybody else. And I realized that even though I was afraid of what my bosses would say as predominantly males in that office, that I would be seen as inadequate or that I couldn't hack it. But really the truth of the matter is they empowered me to take a day off. They empowered me to be able to spend this time with her. And they empowered me to feel like I just need to make sure that I'm okay, because at the end of the day, if I'm not okay, she's not okay. All of that was fear that was telling me that they weren't going to approve of it or look at me a certain way. And in reality, they just want to support me. Same thing in your situation. Same thing in a season you're going through. How many times have we gone through a season or a situation or a journey that then when we looked at it, again, we were able to sit there and be like, why were you scared about that? It ended up becoming this incredible thing. The most incredible things are on the other side of fear, guys. So are you allowing fear to destroy you? Are you allowing it to propel you and give you strength? Are you allowing fear to drive you forward and you to step into bravery and courage and act anyway? Or are you allowing it to crumble and then you not be and become who you are meant to be? The one thing that I want Bianca to look back and say is, Mommy, you were consistent and you showed up anyway, and even when you were scared, you did the hard thing. And why do I want that? Because I want her to do the same thing when things get hard. So it's simple, and I have to break it down, simple things like riding a bike. Remember when your parents first took off the training wheels and you were terrified that you were going to fall? Guess what? You probably did fall, but you got back up. Same thing as if you were very first learning how to walk. I look at my daughter and she gets so determined to take these little beads and flip it. And I sit there and I think about how she could be scared that if she touched it, what is it going to feel like? And then if she moves it, what is it going to feel like? And if she misses it, what is she going to feel like? Does she think that I'm judging her when she misses it, when she gets frustrated and she makes this little yelp noise that she does when she's trying to get something? No. She just does it again. Just like when she starts to crawl, she's going to just do it again. When she learns how to walk, she's just going to do it again. When I take off the training wheels and I'm trying to help her learn how to ride a bike, she's just going to fall and get back up again. We lost that element as kids. Go and do and act and achieve your dreams as if you were that kid. Go after it it no matter what. Go after it no matter the judgment, the hardship, the fear. Just be brave. It's funny because my daughter's sister is incredible. She lights my soul on fire, and I love the relationship that I built with her and her mother. And I remember the day that I had to have a conversation with Bianca's father. They came over, and I had to tell him that I was struggling with my postpartum depression. I had to tell him, and it was the same day that I was going to go into the office and tell them that I needed to take down a day. And it was the same day I was going to go back to see my OB. And she sings this song, and it's, with a little help, you can be brave. With a little help, you can be brave. And I sat there and I looked at her and I said, Alicia, will you sing the Brave song to me? And without any hesitation, she just started singing. And I'm like, man, this little sweet 4-year-old who can sing just like that, who doesn't care about whoever's around her. And she does it. And she gave me so much strength because in that moment as a child, she didn't have any fear. And I think back to the very first time I went to have breakfast with her and her mom. And before she even sat down, she sang me an entire song because she was like, I was thinking about you and I wanted to sing a song to you. And I'm sitting there like floored at the fact that this 4-year-old who could stand up in the middle of a restaurant, not care who's looking at her or her surroundings, and sing an entire song, belt it out like she owned the place. And she did, because she rocked it. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, every single day this little girl inspires me. Every single day Bianca inspires me. Every single day I'm reminded of through bravery and courage we are able to act on the most incredible things. And yeah, we don't always get it right. And yes, I'm not telling you you won't fail. But I am telling you that it's better to look and say, at least I tried, than, man, I regret that I didn't. So what right now are you facing? What aspect of fear are you toggling with? Is it destroying you, or is it propelling you forward and giving you strength? How can you muster up the faith and the courage to fight through to get your dreams? Whether it's going back to school, whether it's fighting for a relationship or fighting to get out of a relationship, whether it's just working on your health, being happy again, putting a smile on your face, admitting that you need help in areas that you can't just do by yourself. Whatever it is, I ask you to step into courage and bravery today. Act on it today because your dreams matter. Your story matters. But most importantly, your life matters. And it is based on right now, in this decision, in this moment, to be brave and act in courage that will propel your life forward forever. You are so worthy of the opportunity to live out your wildest dreams. And it starts right now, stepping into fear and being brave and courageous.